They say white men invest more in relationships than black men. But if that's true, how come Whoopi Goldberg dated only white men for 50 years and still says she didn't marry well? Let's break down the truth nobody wants to talk about. Recently, while scrolling through TikTok, I stumbled across a post that immediately made me pause. In the endless sea of lip-sync challenges, dance routines, and comedic skits, this video stood out because it wasn't about entertainment, it was about experience, identity, and love. A black woman appeared on my screen, speaking directly to her audience with a sense of openness and honesty that made her words feel personal, almost as if she were confiding in a close friend. Her video carried the striking title, "My Dating Experience with Black Men versus White Men." That phrasing alone was powerful, because it wasn't just hinting at a story of relationships, it was pointing to something much larger. Something layered with cultural history, personal vulnerability, and societal tension. When I saw that title, I knew instantly this wasn't going to be a casual TikTok anecdote. It was going to be a window into how dating, something we usually think of as deeply private, intersects with the complex realities of race and community. What made the video compelling was the way she framed her story. She wasn't trying to sound like a sociologist or deliver a lecture. But the truth is, her words carried the weight of lived research. Every sentence revealed the quiet observations she had gathered over the years, comparing how she felt seen, valued, or neglected in different relationships. And the fact that she chose TikTok as her outlet added another layer to the message. Social media, especially a platform as fast-moving and youth-driven as TikTok, has become one of the few places where people, particularly women of color, can say the things that might be dismissed, minimized, or silenced in other settings. There's something bold about that. She didn't publish in an academic journal. She didn't wait for a talk show invitation. She spoke her truth directly, raw and unfiltered, to an audience of strangers who could either support her, challenge her, or simply scroll past. The title of her video also carried an unspoken risk, because conversations about interracial dating have always been touchy within the black community. On one hand, there are people who feel that love should be about individual connection, not about cultural loyalty. On the other hand, there are those who see dating outside the community as an act that weakens solidarity, as if personal choice were a political statement. For a black woman to openly compare her experiences with black men and white men, she was stepping into a conversation that has existed in whispers for generations. That made her video more than just another dating story. It became a cultural statement. As I listened, I realized the impact of what she was doing went far beyond her personal life. She was exposing how relationships often act as mirrors, reflecting not just the dynamics between two individuals but also the weight of history, economics, and cultural expectations. What does it mean if she felt black men were less likely to invest in relationships? What does it mean if she felt white men gave her more emotional security? Are these simply her individual experiences? Or are they shaped by larger forces, systemic barriers, generational trauma, and cultural norms? These are the questions her video raised, whether she intended to or not. And that's why it caught my attention so completely, because beneath the personal details, what I heard was the sound of someone grappling with bigger truths, the kind of truths that don't fit neatly into a TikTok caption but resonate with anyone who has ever felt torn between love, loyalty, and self-preservation. It wasn't entertainment, it was testimony.
And before then, I was talking to an African-American man, like all in the same time frame. I exchanged numbers with this African-American man. So we talked online for like a week, and then we exchanged numbers like 3 days ago, which means this man has had access to me for a week and a half. Yesterday, he asked me, what I was doing. The black man asked me what I was doing. And nothing, I was really just chilling because, like I said, my nephew went to his first high school party. So I was really just chilling and waiting until my nephew told me he was ready so I can go pick him up. So I wasn't doing anything. And I just said, like, I'm hungry. I told the black man that I was hungry. And he said, why haven't you eaten? And I just said, I don't know. And then I said, have you eaten? And then he was like, no, shit, I'm hungry too. And I'm like, crickets, mind you, this is a man who has access to me for a week and a half, no date.
This creator has revisited the topic in multiple videos, often stressing the same idea. She believes black men rarely invest deeply in relationships, while white men tend to be more committed, and she's not the only one to express such views. Even well-known figures have spoken on it, Whoopi Goldberg among them. In fact, on December 15, 2024, a writer who goes by the Good Vibes specialist, published an article on Medium titled Whoopi Goldberg's Perspective: Why She Chose Not to Marry a Black Man. The piece explored Goldberg's long history of dating outside her race. Since the early 1970s, she has been married and divorced 3 times, all to white men, and her relationships have consistently followed the same pattern. The article argued that Goldberg's choices weren't about rejecting blackness or turning her back on her community. Instead, they reflected her pursuit of personal happiness. She found that her relationships with black men lacked the depth, reciprocity, and emotional growth she longed for. At the same time, she resisted the pressure to view love as an act of loyalty to her culture. For Goldberg, love was about connection, not obligation. By consistently choosing what fulfilled her, she also challenged traditional expectations around black love, urging more honesty about the complexity of individual needs. In that way, her story became less about crossing racial lines and more about reclaiming agency in how one defines love. The article hinted at a broader shift that more black women may begin to step beyond conventional norms in search of healthier, more satisfying relationships. And with Goldberg not having dated a black man in more than 50 years, her journey adds a striking example to that ongoing conversation.
So the new Mr. White Chocolate messaged me, and all within 15 minutes of having my number, he sent me money to treat myself to a date. I gave the black man a week and a half, and still nothing. He was hungry, he didn't care. I was hungry, and he didn't care. This other man asked me what I wanted to do, how much it cost. The white man asked me what I wanted to do, how much it cost, and he sent me the bread.
Whoopi Goldberg's wealth is often estimated at around $60 million, though much of that may not be liquid. Liquidity matters, after all. It's what pays the bills. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Goldberg herself admitted that she still needs to keep working because, in her words, she didn't marry well. This comment is striking when you consider her long-standing openness about dating outside her race. For decades, she's emphasized her desire not to be confined or put in a box. Yet now she reflects on marriages that didn't provide the stability or financial partnership she hoped for. The irony, of course, is difficult to ignore. Goldberg hasn't been romantically involved with black men in over 50 years. And yet she still finds herself working at 69 to maintain her lifestyle. If that's true, then her choices reveal something broader. Marrying outside one's race doesn't automatically lead to better outcomes. Failed marriages can happen anywhere, with anyone, and often reflect deeper personal dynamics rather than cultural shortcuts. This becomes even clearer when you look at how quickly Goldberg's marriages ended. 3 unions, none lasting beyond a decade, some not even half that. At some point, the common thread isn't the race of her partners, it's the pattern of her relationships. People often frame interracial dating as an upgrade, saying, "Don't date black men, go get yourself a white man." But the reality is, wherever you go, there you are. If you don't resolve your own patterns, switching communities won't guarantee success. In fact, sometimes people pursue interracial relationships not out of love but out of escape. They believe no one in their own community will tolerate their flaws, so they look elsewhere for someone who will. I've seen this dynamic firsthand while living in Uganda. Women would approach me or appear on my podcast asking if I could connect them with American friends. Their reasoning was usually financial Americans. They'd say, have more money, more opportunities, or better manners. But when I'd ask why they couldn't find a partner within their own community, the answers always sounded the same. These men are lazy, unfaithful, or unworthy. And yet, every culture says the same thing about its men. That's why it can't be the whole truth. Often, the real issue lies in what the individual is or isn't bringing to the table. And this is where the harder truth emerges. Interracial relationships, especially between black women and white men, often come with an unspoken expectation. The black partner has to be exceptional, not just equal to other potential partners, but better. Even when the white partner is not racist, their families or social circles might be. So the black spouse feels pressure to overperform, to constantly prove their worth. In that context, a relationship can't survive on the mindset of, what can this other person give me? It has to also answer, what am I contributing in return? Goldberg had 3 opportunities to test this balance, and in each case, the outcome fell short. If she admits she didn't marry well, what does that imply? Likely that the men she chose earned less than she did, or didn't provide the stability she expected. And if the wealthier men in her social circles weren't choosing her, that raises a different question. Why not? After decades in Hollywood, surrounded by high-status connections, she still couldn't find a long-term match that endured. This isn't just a Whoopi Goldberg issue, it's a human one. Too many people assume they can cross into another community, find a partner, and expect that person to meet all their needs without offering greater value in return. But relationships don't work like that. Once the novelty of difference fades, it always comes down to the personal level: who you are, what you give, and how you show up. If those elements don't add up, race won't save the relationship. And that's the lesson at the heart of Goldberg's story. Love and marriage require reciprocity, growth, and value on both sides. If you can't bring that to the table, it doesn't matter whether your partner is black, white, or anything else, the result will likely be the same. And here's the truth: when you jump from one relationship to the next, eventually, the real you shows up. At first, it's easy to blame the last partner. People love to lean on that old line: "Oh, they treated me bad. They didn't appreciate me. They weren't ready for someone like me." That works in the beginning, because new partners want to believe you. They want to see the best in you. They want to think they're the one who will heal your wounds, the one who will make you forget the pain of the past. But time has a way of stripping away that polished version of yourself. Give it 6 months, a year, maybe 2 if you're really good at performing, and the cracks start to show. Suddenly, the patterns you've been hiding come to light. Maybe it's dishonest little lies at first, then bigger ones that unravel trust. Maybe it's financial recklessness, the kind that leaves unpaid bills and bounced checks piling up. Maybe it's parenting children left without boundaries, kids spiraling because the structure at home is missing. Or maybe it's secrets you hoped would stay buried, like old flings, hidden debts, or the kind of messy past you thought nobody would ever find out about. But life has a way of dragging the truth out into the open. No matter how carefully you curate the image you show, eventually, reality slips through the cracks. And when that happens, the excuses stop working. You can't keep pointing to your ex and saying they were the problem. You can't keep leaning on the story that everyone else did you wrong. At some point, the spotlight turns back on you. The chaos in your life isn't coming from bad luck or cursed relationships, it's coming from your own decisions, your own habits, your own unwillingness to face what needs to be fixed. That's the harsh reality most people run from, but it's also the one they need to confront if they ever want true growth. Now, don't get me wrong, it's easy to play the blame game. It's comforting to say, "Black men don't commit," or "White men use me," or "All women are ungrateful," or "All men are cheaters." These generalizations give us a shield. They allow us to avoid looking inward. They let us stay the same while telling ourselves the problem is out there, not in here. But if your story repeats itself, no matter who you date, no matter what city you move to, no matter what circumstances you're in, then the truth is undeniable. The common denominator isn't the mitsu. This is the lesson people don't want to hear, but it's the one that sets them free once they finally accept it. Because wherever you go, there you are. You can cross oceans, you can switch cultures, you can marry into a different race, religion, or social class, but unless you've done the work to change yourself, you're just carrying the same baggage into a new setting. And just like heavy luggage, it gets unpacked eventually. Maybe not on day 1, maybe not on day 30, but sooner or later. Everyone around you sees what you've been hiding. Think about it this way: relationships are mirrors. They reflect back the version of yourself you try to ignore. If you're insecure, jealous, or controlling, those traits will surface no matter who your partner is. If you're reckless with money, irresponsible with commitments, or dishonest about your past, it doesn't matter whether you're dating a black man, a white man, or anyone else, the cracks will still show. Switching partners is like switching mirrors. The reflection might look different at first, but the face staring back remains the same. That's why pointing the finger outward never solves anything. The moment you stop blaming entire groups of people for your relationship struggles and start taking accountability is the moment you actually open the door to healthier love. But accountability is heavy. It requires admitting that maybe you weren't the victim every time. Maybe you sabotaged good relationships. Maybe you ignored red flags because they forced you to look at your own flaws. Maybe you demanded standards you weren't willing to uphold yourself. That's not easy to swallow, but it's the truth. And here's the part people really need to understand. Growth doesn't come from running away. It comes from pausing, reflecting, and changing. The reason you can date 3 different people in 3 different cities and still end up with the same drama is because you never paused to break the cycle. You didn't stop to ask, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? What part of me is toxic? insecure, or unprepared for real love? Until you answer those questions, you'll just keep dragging the same problems into new relationships. Take Whoopi Goldberg as an example. 3 marriages, all ending in divorce. Different men, same outcome. For years, people debated whether her choice to date outside the black community gave her an advantage or held her back. But at the end of the day, none of those marriages lasted, not because of race, not because of community expectations, but because compatibility, effort, and accountability weren't strong enough to sustain them. That's the pattern. Wherever you go, there you are.
Child, Whoopi Goldberg is claiming she don't have enough to retire, honey. Let's talk about it. But Whoopi, who is 69 years old, I'm not sure why I thought she was older, but Whoopi states that the reason why she will never be able to retire most likely is because she did not marry well. And to that, I want to say, you are the rich man, Whoopi. You are the rich man, okay? I'm not trying to be mean with her, but I'm just saying, Whoopi, you've been in the game for at least 50 years, okay? You have been in the game a long time, and although your net worth is anywhere from, some would say 20, 30, or even in this article you see 60, so it's kind of a range there. If you did not make enough money over this lifetime, there is some serious questions that need to be asked about how you are managing your fund.
It's not just celebrities either. I've seen it in everyday people. Friends who swear off dating within their race, convinced that switching sides will solve their problems. Women who insist that foreign men will treat them better. Men who travel abroad, thinking they'll find submissive partners who will never challenge them. And sure, for a while, the novelty of difference makes things exciting. But once the honeymoon phase fades, the truth if you haven't dealt with your issues, your temper, your dishonesty, your unwillingness to compromise, then the cultural switch won't save you. It just delays the inevitable. And that's why I tell people all the time, stop chasing external solutions for internal problems. Stop thinking a new partner will fix the wounds you refuse to heal. Stop believing you can outrun yourself by switching communities, switching cultures, or switching partners, like changing outfits. Because love isn't about what someone else can do for you, it's about what you bring, what you give, and how you show up when the hard times come. So, if you're sitting there, years later, wondering why none of your relationships lasted, why you're still struggling, why you keep ending up with the same outcome, maybe the real question isn't what's wrong with them, maybe it's what's wrong with me. And that's not defeat, it's empowerment. Because once you accept that you are the common denominator, you realize you also have the power to change the equation. At the end of the day, love is work. Real love requires honesty, patience, accountability, and growth. If you're not willing to do that work, then it doesn't matter who you're dating, the result will always be the same. And if Whoopi Goldberg, with all her fame, fortune, and access, still found herself saying, "I didn't marry well," then that should tell us something. Resources and opportunities don't replace the need for self-awareness and personal growth. So remember this, the world is wide, the dating pool is global, and you can explore as many options as you want. But wherever you go, there you are. You can't escape yourself. And until you face yourself, you'll keep repeating the same story with different faces. And with that, it's your boy Jackson, signing off with another episode of The Celebrity Jump. Until next time, take a good look in the mirror before you take a leap into someone else's life. Because at the end of the day, the reflection always follows you.